2 lanes to keep right.
Hey friends, it's Friday, Future Friday, July 23, 2021. Welcome back or welcome aboard to the most overlooked and underrated coaching conversation on the internet. That's my opinion, but here's why. I'm convinced, like so many of you, that our future deserves our focus today. I mean, why would we wait? Why would we hesitate? And definitely, why would we procrastinate our wild, exciting, inviting future when we can do something about it today? What we do today can ripple out far and wide, and that is why we are on this coaching journey. It's called Prepare to Go There. My name is Peter, and I want to give a shout out to all the future friends out there, those that are focused on their future today. Man, you're taking intentional action steps forward with a big picture strategy. You have big dreams, you have a sense of calling, you want to live on mission, and today's a great day to get after it. So, first off, I would love to hear from you. Say hi, say Future Friday in the chat. Tell me where you are watching from. And let's get some interaction going, because today particularly is a lot of fun. I have been making a segment in each Future Friday to field your questions, to just see what you're going through and how we can work together and support one another. So welcome to the Future Frontier. This is a coaching conversation all about working on ourselves so we can stay practically focused on the future and then tactically lead ourselves towards it day by day. And so this is a conversation that I've enjoyed having now over a month. Can you believe it? This is episode 25, and it's a lot of fun. I want to kind of showcase my new and improved workspace. I don't know if you can see, I've got some art on the wall and I love it. So big shout out to my wonderful wifey, Sarah Joy, and she's sarahjoy.tv on Instagram, and her website is the same. And she's just an amazing creative and designer, and she has made my life better in pretty much every way possible. So she did a great job, and you can't see all those photos, but it's kind of got like frontier-esque stuff, just mountains and trees and going into uncharted places. So speaking of uncharted places, what do you guys think about this new commercial space race? Are you kidding me? We are now getting like crazy rich people blasting off into space, and they're taking people with them now. So guys, the future that we've been thinking about, it might be closer than we think. So, all right, I am a bit off script already, which is so much fun. So let me get back to the why. Maybe you're wondering, why is this guy talking? It's because I want to help friends and leaders alike go on a coaching journey that will help them develop their self-leadership. This is what I have found. I've discovered that most people don't actually know how to lead others into a better future, even though they are recognized by others as leaders. Maybe they lead a business, a team, a movement, a following, a ministry, a family, whatever. Like, people are put in the driver's seat, but they really don't know where they're going. And so they kind of have a vulnerability. There's a blind spot in their positional leadership. And it's because they don't know how to lead themselves there first. And it's easy. It happens to all of us. I am guilty of this. but we want to work together and lean into this conversation because I believe this is what the next generation of emerging leaders need. They will need this conversation in order to succeed. And it is the value of self leadership, that idea of taking responsibility, taking action, and then taking others with them into a better future. So, if that is something that resonates with you, I would love for you to stay on this conversation. And you can do that by joining the email community. So this is your call to action. Be a part of the Future Friends. The Future Friends are influencers and creatives and leaders of all types. And really, there's just an amazing organic underground network of friends and leaders that take this to heart and they want to move forward faster together. So the Future Friends will get a email, such as today you're getting a Future Friday email roundup. It's got all the content from the week, which is going to be really fun. And also, Future Friends will get info and incentives for the soon coming coaching courses. And then the Future Friends have access into this amazing, legendary, like-minded community. And so all of that and more, let's just keep going, keep growing together. The easiest way that you can get on the email community is downloading this very free, not kind of free, fail-proof planning guide. This is a project that my wife and I worked on together, and I am thrilled with how it came out. It is such a game changer. It will guide you through a proven step-by-step planning process that will help you clear the clutter and help you charge after your goals, your dreams, your values. And this is easier said than done. I mean, you can't just show up and wing it because you will feel it at the end of the week. You won't know what happened or where your time went or why things didn't meet your expectation. And that's where the vacuum gets filled with lots of frustration. So don't do that. Don't hold out on this. This is free. This is easy. It's a proven process. It's just going to basically ask you questions to think through and write down, and then it's going to guide you through a planning process. So you're not just kind of limping on one plan or one certain way to move forward, but you're learning the mindset and the skill sets to actually think agile, not fragile. And that's what we need right now because the future feels so unpredictable. But that is our secret weapon because it's wide open. We can go after it and we can make it unforgettable. So you can download that. There's a link at the bottom of the show notes after all this. And also, you can just go find it on my website, peterburschfeld.com. So let's get into today. Man, a lot of great questions came in. I wouldn't say they're intimidating, but definitely open to the conversation today because this is stuff that we have to face head on again and again. And so I don't want you to think that, you get one answer and then it's one and done. Like you're going to have to keep working on yourself again and again. And that is why I am such a big vocal advocate for leaders to have dedicated time away where they can literally just take a field trip to the future. They can literally just think, they can grow, they can improve, they can review their process, they can, preview new priorities and projects. This is kind of a lost art because even when you are alone, you still have this thing hanging around with you. And it's so easy to take this big time block that you've put on your calendar or in your planner, and it kind of gets fragmented into all of these little slice and dice interruptions. And then you look up and you wondered what happened. So I want to help you power through that And I really don't have a topic per se. We're just going to be fielding questions, but I think a lot of them will gravitate and orient themselves around the why behind a future Friday. So that's where I want to start. And this is new to the live stream. We're just a month and a half in. So I just want to keep hammering some of the foundational ideas that I'm bringing, and Future Friday is one of them. So let me talk about it one more time. If you've heard this, this is just going to be just helpful refresher. Soren K said, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Man, how insightful, right? So that is why a Future Friday is so valuable, because it is a space that we can make or find or leverage that allows us to both review what happened in the past and then also preview what can happen in the upcoming days and weeks ahead. Another way I've been describing this process is to strategize and summarize. And so many times we want to focus. We know we need to focus, but it's just difficult. So how do you power through yourself? How do you power through the interruptions or the distractions or the unexpected obligations? What do you do when you feel like you're on this tightrope walk and you look down and there's no safety net and you're like, man, this is kind of tense. How do I move forward without falling apart? And you have to have time away where you can get clear so you can come back and pine. I was gonna say that didn't work. You got to get clear so you can pioneer. All right, let's move forward with the first question. How do you actually start a Future Friday? Now, the little secret here is it doesn't have to be a Friday. It just happens for me. Maybe I like alliterations. Maybe it just worked out with my work schedule. But in my context, Friday's my off day. So I use it to get ahead. I've actually structured my work week so I can be finished as much as possible before or by Friday. So that way I have this kind of like hidden day in the week where I can go offline, go off limits, and book it into the future. And I'm going to show you 4 steps to actually start your Future Friday. And I would love it if we get a whole movement of emerging leaders that are all doing Future Friday, because then we could be, sharing what we're learning. We can be even enjoying field trips to the future together. And so this would be amazing if more people would lean into this concept. But there's this kind of a checklist. It's almost like a funnel that you have to go through, because the truth is you're probably not ready to work on things in the future if you still have unresolved projects or challenges or stuff going on in your present. So you do have to be responsible. You do have to get organized, and you will have to finish before you can even move forward. So here is the checklist that I am running with, and I want to pass it to you as just a freemium gift. The first thing that Friday has to look like is I got to be finished. So before you say, yeah, I'm doing Finish Friday, it's amazing, I'm taking off, I'm going to the future, I'm learning, I'm leveling up, I'm leading myself, like, did you finish? Did you actually finish stuff that week? And in transparency, as a case study, I didn't finish my work this week. We got back from an awesome vacation in Florida, and it was amazing. But when I came back, I had stuff that I needed to get after. I had to kind of catch back up and get my my little Tetris on and kind of whittle back down. And so today for me, was a finish Friday. It wasn't actually a future Friday. Thankfully, I still have a few hours in my day to make it count. But finish Friday is a valuable goal. It is a worthy task. You need to work at finishing as much as you can by the end of your work week, whether it's Friday or Saturday or Sunday or something else. Finish your work. And that requires us to think, what does finish look like? Like, what would the finish line be? So that way I can confidently say no when someone emails or calls or wolfs or whatever. I want to make sure that I've done my part so I can confidently get away. After you have finished, and maybe we can kind of circle back around if you are interested in like, hey, how do you actually finish? What does finishing look like? Whatever. Drop your questions in the chat and hopefully we can stir this up. But the next step, after you are finished with just regular work and work hours and work projects, and your team knows your boundaries and your team understands that you're not skipping out of town, you're actually going to come back stronger. It's time to focus. Focus Friday is the next level in this framework. You're not technically going into the future yet, but you have goals and projects that you've already identified for your life. It's not just work related. It could be personal. That's why I do this on my off day. Things that you're interested in, things that you want to try, things you want to level up on. I'll give you an example. Last night, we did all this, right? Not needed necessarily, but really fun and makes a big difference. So this could be one project that you stay focused on. Now, in my context today, it was definitely kind of finish/focus Friday, because I was literally just morning till now, just going all in to bulk and batch and get as much work finished so I could get ahead and then come back and work on more stuff later. And when you are in a focus Friday mode, I want to give you a little encouragement, because you're going to look back and say, what did I actually do? Like, it doesn't feel like a lot. If I look back and summarize the way my time went, it's probably like one, like, yeah, really one thing. And that is good. That is okay. It would be better to go long and strong in one direction of your life. You know what I'm talking about, like your personal life, personal side of life, or your work side of life, or your family side of life, or community side of life. That is valuable. And sometimes you have to make a trade. Sometimes you can't. We're going to talk about this later too, but sometimes it can be really difficult to make that pivot or make that transition. And, when you commit, I need to do X, Y, and Z, and then you only get X done. And by X, I mean like a category, not just like one task. But if you actually put maybe 30 more minutes in, or 60 more minutes in, or 90 minutes. Doesn't that sound like a dream? 90 more minutes in a certain project, a certain area, and you took it further than expected. You went past the finish line and you went the extra mile. So now you're not just doing bare minimum, but you're actually batching, you're getting ahead, you're thinking in bulk. You're like, I'm not just going to do this for 1 week. I'm going to do this for the next 4 weeks. And now my focus was paying off. My focus has given me some margin. There's a bigger ROI on my focus, because I've taken a little extra time in one area. And yes, that's true. I didn't get those other 2 things done or those other 10 things done. But you know what? The one thing I did was quality. It got me far into the future. I'm going to be better prepared in this one area. And I'm so grateful that I just made that choice and I focused in that area. So that's kind of where I was today. I needed to finish stuff. I knocked it out. I needed to focus on something. I made the choice. I didn't get everything I wanted to done, but I'm so pleased how far I got to run in a specific direction. Now, let's say, you will always have projects to focus on, but what I hope will happen is that your focus will actually lean forward. And now you're not just focused on catching up, but you start focusing on getting ahead. And that is where we really feel the benefit and the rocket fuel of a future Friday, because we're not just thinking anymore about what do I need to do to make up that time, but now we are literally making up so many opportunities, and we're creating a lot of leverage that we can enjoy in the future. So Future Friday is that time where we are thinking strategically, intentionally. This is where we're employing those tactics like summarizing what happened in order to strategize what can happen next. We're breaking through the fog, we're clearing through the forest, and we're finding new opportunities and new ideas that we can begin to take action on. Future Friday could look like anything. It could look like reading a book or, leveling up, learning something, developing, researching, strategizing. I mean, it's amazing how you can be so productive when you just make enough room for it to emerge. But so many times we just have this wet blanket of, just micromanaging or stress or limiting beliefs. And I have found if I can get away, I will get ahead. So Future Friday is amazing. There are some more, I don't want to call them advanced, but there's some more deep dive kinds of things that you can do in a Future Friday. And because I don't want it to feel like it's just so structured. Honestly, a Future Friday is just giving yourself space to go, to dream, to be there, to identify with what's possible, and just see where you go. What I love doing, there's actually a 4th level. It's the bonus round of a Future Friday. If I can do all of those 3 things and then add on this last piece, then I have literally had the best Friday ever. And it's to have a Future Friday with some future friends, to actually hang out with people, with other leaders that are doing the same thing as you. They're leading either in ministry or business. They're leading their family. They're leading their peers. They're growing influence. They're working on themselves. They're failing forward. They're having fun. They're making moments. And it is so encouraging and really empowering to get around someone else who wants to lead by example. And it just force multiplies all of that time that you put into yourself and your future. So I am looking forward to 2 or 3 different little moments, little meetups today where I'm going to be hanging out with some friends, talking about the future. And what we'll be doing is not just like thinking in the work mode. We'll be thinking, how can we look from that high view, look down, get that big picture, start working on the team, start working on the movement, start working on the the leaders, start working on the strategy, so that way we can move forward faster. So that is it. I've had a blast just kind of refreshing that, but we do have some questions to get to. This is your last call. If you have any questions, in fact, while you are typing it in the chat, let me just see if anybody else asked something. Okay, we are good to go. So the first question is, how do you practice focus? How do you get better at focus? And so a lot of these questions are going to be dealing with that, because even if someone gave you blank space, open room, big margin, I don't think most of us would know what to do with it. I mean, it would be challenging even for me. And I'm like more introverted. I enjoy this, but I can still find myself wandering away from my why or the things I said I wanted to do. So how do we get better at this focus? Because we have to have big open space in order to pioneer, in order to create and to lead. So it's not automatic just to put a time block on your calendar. You have to practice deep work. And just because I said it, I have to give a shout out. I have a book right there. You can't see it. Let me see if I can show you. There's a book right there, a big yellow book right there, right there. And it's called Deep Work by Cal Newport. And I highly recommend it. So go check that out when you can. But I would say, for starters, learn how to use your focus like a skill set, like a tool, in two different scenarios. If you'll remember yesterday, we talked about how do you move from the aspirational level all the way down to the actionable level, right? Where we can get caught up in the big picture, but then we have to zoom in and personalize it with a path. And we have to find the action steps that are actually connected to that big picture, and vice versa. And so what I started realizing is that my focus wasn't one size fits all, that I actually needed to develop my focus for different scenarios. And if I learned how to identify what scenario I'm in, I could have a better chance, a better advantage at avoiding the pitfalls. So the first one is practice focus when you feel foggy. What does it look like when you feel foggy? It means you don't know you don't know your name. You don't know your name. You don't know what day it is. You don't know what you need to be working on, why life matters in that particular area. I mean, you're just like blank, and you're just stuck. And so we talked about that, right? We talked about a framework to stay focused on your future. So I encourage you to go back to that. But your focus needs to be really piercing and clear when you get in the fog. And what do you need when you're in the fog? You need visibility. You need vision. You've got to see the vision again. And so by reviewing, by revisiting, by figuring out, okay, I need some clarity here. That is when you start to exercise a lot of those maneuvers. You could, get inspired and fill up. You can podcast. You can read. You can pray. You can be meditating on personal promises. And what I've found is whenever we get in the fog, we give up too quickly. But what inevitably will happen is if we just wait long enough, the sunrise will dry out that fog. And so we've got to be willing to wait through that fog, through that brain fog. And that's what we don't want to do. we're just sitting in front of a blank screen, or we're just sitting with this blank page of a brain, and we don't know how to get started. You've got to just get going, and you need enough clarity to get started, not to finish. And so when you're in the fog, don't retreat, but just hold the ground you already have and get filled up emotionally, build your confidence, and get that clarity that you need. And then start asking clarifying questions. Say, okay, what is happening? What is not happening? What do I do now? What is the win? How do I move forward? And what will inevitably happen, at least from my experience, is you'll come out of that fog with more visibility of the landscape around you, and then more clarity about how to navigate it. And that's what you're trying to arrive at. You're trying to return or update some sort of plan, strategy, so you can begin to take action steps forward. And so that's where you feel like kind of lost and drowning or drifting, and you don't know what action step to take. And so what do? You quit. You go eat mindlessly, or you start scrolling mindlessly. Don't do that. Stay engaged. Hold your ground. Do whatever you got to do to get filled up emotionally so you can actually power through it. And eventually you're going to get clarity, which will give you the strategy to take action. So that's what I want to give you for that. Now, your focus will also be needed when you're in the forest. When you're in the forest, like my wife and I, we went hiking just recently, and it was so much fun. But I can tell you, when you're out there, this was a 4-mile hike. And there was one point when it was just an open field. There were no trees. There was no shade. It was just the sun beating down on us. And I was wearing those shoes I was talking about that was, kind of rubbing my blisters raw. And I was literally thinking in my head, okay, do I have a quota to my steps? Like, how many steps can I take beyond this point? And ultimately you just kind of toughen up, buttercup, and it ended up being a blast. But I was so thankful that I didn't get decision fatigue and I didn't wig out because I was overwhelmed or overloaded by all of the seeming steps that I had to take. And that's what happens in the forest scenario. You got to keep going. There's work still in front of you. You just don't know how to power through. You don't know how to move through all of those steps because you're just kind of getting disoriented and dizzy with all of the things going at the micro level. And sometimes we can overanalyze, overthink what's going on. Now, in the foggy situation, we need strategic thinking to help us get through that. But when you're in the forest, it's all about, point A to point B and steps and strategy. And there are some times you have to just chill out, slow down, look up, and don't miss the view of the journey you're on. Don't just try to get there and there and there, that you are not present and you're not welcoming the miracle of the moment that you're in. And so that's what I would say. Practice your focus in both scenarios, and you will go through ebb and flow, ups and downs in your work times. And so don't be intimidated by it. Learn to stick with it, and you want to hone your focus so that way you're actually getting better at the quality that you're producing, whether it's planning or creating or whatever. All right, let's go to another question. Okay. Okay, here is another focus topic. Get a plan, really an intentional plan that will help you better start, steer, and stop your focus. All right, let's go through this again. How do you get a plan to start, to steer, to stop your focus? These are all mission critical points in your productivity, in your work. Sometimes we don't know how to start something. We can wait and dilly dally, and we're not really committing to what we need to do. So in that case, you need to be intentional and learn how do I actually like get the car cranked or get the motor going or really build the momentum, because sometimes our work sessions feel much more like a workout where we're grinding it out than a workflow where it should be, where we have this clarity and we have this momentum to get after the things we say are valuable and important. So you need to take a little bit of time so you can make decisions that are worth repeating, and just get a little checklist. This is how I'm going to start my work day. This would be the 1, 2, 3 things that are going to trigger, that are going to align me, that are going to frame me up for a successful day. This is very easy. This is a routine, but a lot of us don't have an intentional way to start with focus. And so then you'll get going and you're feeling like, oh yeah, I'm cruising, I got it, and this is where we have all of our favorite things, our favorite playlist, our favorite beverage, our favorite, cushion thingy. And so we're in a groove. I'll be the case study. I need help steering. I'm still working on steering because I'm having a lot of fun focusing. I can go very deep, and metaphorically, I can be like amphibious. I mean, I can stay underwater. I can stay in that concentration station for a long time. I love being in my alone zone, because I'm learning and I'm praying and I'm downloading and I'm going and I'm trying and all of that. So how do you steer your focus? The catch is it's got to be intentional. Like, you got to be ready for that scenario. And what I've learned is having a intentional schedule. Okay. So the first one was an intentional routine to get started, but now you need an intentional schedule that will help you steer your focus. And this is a bit counterintuitive, a bit paradoxical, because I just told you some days you're going to have to focus in one direction for a long time. And that's very, very true. But not every day is that way. Not every day is a Future Friday. Some days are just a work week and you've got other team members that are counting on you, or you have curveballs that are coming at you. And so you've got to be adept. You have to practice steering your attention, so that way you can move very quickly into a new space. You can stay well adjusted wherever you are. And what I have found is that being prepared for this moment and then that moment and the other moment will help me make better transitions. So it's not like I'm just kind of out there, I'm just kind of winging it, I'm just kind of running with inspiration. I've actually set myself up for success. So when I step into that next project or that next conversation, I don't feel blindsided, and I definitely don't feel bitter about being pulled into something else. But I actually have a few good ideas or a few pieces of content or whatever that can help me along in that way. So developing a multifaceted focus will be really valuable in this new economy, this creative economy. It's not necessarily multitasking, because that's switching your attention back and forth, back and forth. But what I'm talking about is like checkpoints. Okay, got it, done. All right, now I'm actually mentally moving on to the next thing. And so steering your focus is going to be really important to work at. And I'm not trying to give you answers. I'm just trying to send you on a quest by asking some of these questions. How are you going to intentionally start your work in a way that fosters and multiplies your focus? And then when you're in it and it actually worked and you've got all this focus, do you have an intentional plan to steer yourself so that way you are keeping up and not getting behind just because you were having so much fun in your own alone zone? And then the final step is, how do you stop? That can be really tough, right? Particularly if we love what we do, if we're passionate about our work, or we feel involved and invested with the people that we're doing life with or doing leadership with. So stopping your focus has to be intentional as well. Otherwise, you are going to be running and draining yourself out before you recognize it. I had this little, I don't know, thought, insight, whatever. I think a lot of people expect a Saturday, a Sunday, a Monday, whatever it is, as their catch up on sleep day, as their catch up on life day. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to have a whole day of nothing planned. And then I'll sleep in as long as I want. I'll oversleep. I'll catch up. And maybe that's kind of cool, but this is the insight. It's because we didn't know how to stop working every other day of the week. So we actually waste another day, which is a missed opportunity to prepare and get ahead for the next week. So it's almost self-sabotage to approach your week like that. Instead, I would say just stop before you are drained out. Stop before you bleed out. Stop before you're done emotionally, and stop because you finished. You finished what you said you were going to do. Man, I could go preaching off of that. You know, Jesus said it is finished. So he models the value of a finisher. Man, I want to be a finisher. I don't want to just quit. I don't want to just time out. I don't want to get disqualified. I want to actually finish. So stopping intentionally, not where you just kind of wipe out. It's actually a key ingredient to a lifestyle of excellence. We're kind of in Olympic season right now. And, you know, you have the gymnasts and they do their routines and they do all the flips. And then the way they land is actually graded. Like judges and the audience is waiting to see how they're going to finish that routine. I think we need to be thinking that same way about our day, about our workflow. How are we going to stop? How are we going to finish? Are we going to land the day correctly? And it doesn't happen automatically. It doesn't happen just through osmosis. Just take some time away. Think about that. Say, okay, how did I do? How could I do better? What did I like? And one of the best things you can do is wait for a great day. And whenever you say, man, I really nailed it. This was an awesome day. I finished strong and my whole workspace or my whole team is ready for the next round. You know, you're not finished today till you're ready for tomorrow. And whenever you have that great moment, you have to document it somehow. You have to snapshot it. You have to catch it, summarize it, journal it, learn from it, because that's what you want to replicate. That's a decision that you can learn from, or a process that you can repeat again and again. So I hope that you are just as nerdy about all of this self-leadership stuff as I am, because I'm having a blast just fielding some of these thoughts and questions with you. The next question came in was, how do you get other people to respect your work scheduling and your time blocking. Man, this is a story of my life. I totally understand this. I totally empathize with you. Um, this is probably this requires us to walk in patience, right? Because the truth is, not everyone is leading themselves like this. Not everyone is trying to be as intentional. They're not thinking about their time strategically. They're just, the way they approach life is that they are the noble firefighter that is reactively putting out the fires, and that is the definition of leadership. And while that may be a part of it, it has a cost with it as well. And so for those of us that want to go the long haul, we're going to have to find sustainable strategies for life and leadership. And so what I would say is you have to be patient with yourself. You have to be patient with the other people, and you have to show them the proof of concept, because, for all they care, you're just kind of tapping out. You're just acting like a wimp or a wuss because, everybody else, they take their hits the way they come, and you got to do it too. It's just part of life. It's part of growing up. It's part of adulting. It's part of being a manager. It's part of being a leader. It's part of being a whatever. And you have to show them, no, I can actually give more value. I can actually bring more of myself into the day, into the team, into the project at hand when I am leading myself intentionally, when I'm acting proactively, not reactively. And hopefully you are going to be a difference maker, that they're going to see results. They see that you are excelling, you're succeeding. So know that the onus is more on you to show that this philosophy is helpful, valuable, desirable, before you kind of rant and try to speak about your rights and this is not fair and all this stuff. Like, there are so many amazing, I dare say, stronger people that are going through much, much harsher scenarios. And we have very little to complain about, if anything. So we got to grow in gratitude. We have to build our own success portfolio and then prove to them there's actually a reason behind the scheduling that I have. It's hard for people to visualize, you being away, and you have to come back with something to show them. So come back with results, come back with a great attitude. And when you are kind of in the zone with them, or in the work mode with them, like, be happy, be optimistic, be helpful, because they're going to trust you a little more each time. And they're going to say, you know what, whenever they come back from that time away, like, they're in a great mood, they're helpful, it works. So that'd be the kind of the first 2 or 3 items I would say to that. How do you get other people to respect your work scheduling and time blocking? You need to over communicate that you are restricted, that you have put yourself in constraints on purpose. And then you give the option, hey, I've made space for this at this time. I can, and you have to just communicate and review what is happening externally. Don't get emotionally bent out of shape. You're going to have to learn how to speak calmly and just, if we're out of line, we're going to stir up strife. But if we're in alignment, when we say things, it actually sounds reasonable. It makes sense to other people. and we have facts, and we have truth, and we have reality and clarity, and it works. So again, don't try to fight for your rights. If you lose a few battles along the way, you just got to keep working at it. You got to keep working on yourself, and don't get discouraged. And in the meantime, over communicate the game you're playing. Tell people, like I said before, self-leadership is not secretive. You're telling people, hey, I want to get better. I want to add more value. This is one of the things I'm learning. I'm going to, not be available. Now, how can I help you right now? You may even try to give people heads up and say, I will not be available tomorrow. Is there anything I can do today? So just kind of sending some pre-warnings out of courtesy. That could be an idea too. I hope that was helpful. I'm just out of time. I want to try to get to the last question if I can. What is the most frustrating thing about your workflow? Man, I'd love to hear from y'all. Let me know in the comments, what is the most frustrating thing about your current workflow? For me, that's a great question. I'm going to have to think about that for a second. The most frustrating thing about my workflow is when, I tell you, this is truthful. The most frustrating thing about my workflow is when I am in the flow and I have to stop it. Man, I don't like that feeling. Because I work so hard to, get in a creative space, to be proactive, to get going. And then once I'm kind of like that little kid, I guess, that's at the playground. And then the parent says it's time to go. And I'm like, no, I just got here. So if I'm just kind of doing some group therapy here, I would say what I need to do is actually focus more on the way I'm starting and making the quality of my work time more valuable than just the quantity. Because I guess I'm kind of working through some of my own thought process here. Maybe I'm thinking that quantity is more valuable than quality, and that's not the case. Sometimes you can get a lot of quality work out there, even if you are working with with constraints. So pivoting, transitioning, moving on to the next thing, it's just disappointing because I'm like, I'm having so much fun. This is so great. Like even right now, Chris, great to see you, bro. Thank you so much. This means a lot. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for being on this coaching conversation. I will be back for you. I hope you show up for you too. And we'll be back on Monday with a whole nother topic, a whole nother series. We're kind of getting into focus this week, but next week is going to be really, really good. I hope you're around for it. And it would really help if you spread the word to your friends and other leaders that you know, because we want to help everyone work on themselves and stay practically focused on their future, and then tactically lead themselves day by day. Stay awesome. Remember, you are going places, but you're going to have to prepare to go there. See ya.